What's up, everyone, and welcome to this very special live broadcast episode of RONJIE.COM's Your Chill Transform Story Finders, or GSTF2 for short. It's the new show. Today is July 30th, 2020, and it is currently 9:30 a.m., or basically almost 9:30 a.m., and I woke up today a little past 6, and immediately I watched the new Transformers War for Cybertron trilogy Siege Chapter 1, as they call it, on Netflix. It's a Netflix original, as you might know, and I was able to watch a little past 6. As I prepared my breakfast, took my breakfast, and my usual, just relax in the morning time. I used that to watch the new show for the first time. And well, these are my first impressions. I guess just to summarize my thoughts, it's good. It is very good. It's not perfect. It has its flaws, I think, or it might be lacking in a few things here or there, but overall, it's good. It's great. We got our Transformers fix, a very good one at that. Very well done, I would say. Watch it already. If you haven't yet, please watch it already. And so I was able to watch it at 6, a little past 6 Eastern time. So that would have been around 3 hours after it first dropped on Netflix, available to the whole world. It would have dropped at 12 midnight, July 30th, Pacific time. So that would have been 3 a.m. my time. I wasn't going to stay up until 3 to watch it until 5. It was going to be 2 hours of binge watching. Speaking of which, I guess that's the first thing I should touch on. I must admit that I did watch some YouTube videos. There's a couple of people who I think have seen it, a couple of YouTube channels, who have been given the privilege to watch the show in advance of everyone so that they can give an early review. Spoiler-free reviews, mind you, but there's maybe, my impression was that they might have been given a slightly different version of the series. But speaking of binge watching, one of the expectations I had coming in watching this show was that it is going to be like a movie that was split up into 6 episodes. So a 2-hour long movie with approximately 20-minute episodes each. And it didn't feel like a movie at all. I mean, it's very episodic. You're going to watch, each episode is its own, unlike a movie, it's basically one story, maybe multiple stories interwoven, but it's basically one story, one coherent story. Here it is, there's a story in each episode. When you say story, you're talking about, I'm just going to play these right here. Each story you're going to be talking about. Oh shucks, this is too noisy. It's kind of bothering me. Just gonna mute that. Sorry. So I guess, I mean, that's one of the expectations I had, that this was going to be like a movie just split up into 6. It's not. It's each episode is on its own, and at the end of each episode, as one of the interviews of the showrunner, the executive producer, FJ DeSanto, basically FJ himself said there's cliffhangers at the end of each episode, and that was true. It kind of worked for me. So I mean, there's no other way to watch this but binge watch it. Spare 2 hours of your time. That being said, yeah, you can pause it in between episodes, I suppose, and if you need to. But I mean, I didn't even go to the washroom. Actually, I did while watching it, because I was watching it on my phone, and so I was able to go to the washroom and not miss anything. And I had a Bluetooth headset on. So that's probably too much information, but So anyway, it is good. What is good about it? I think almost everything about it. It's a modern G1 Transformers cartoon. Visually, it is stunning. It is well done. It's very smooth. There was talk on one of the podcasts that they felt constrained because they had to use the toy models for the characters, but I, it was fine by me. I mean, yeah, sure. I'm one of those that are, especially when it comes to Transformers, I'm more easily pleased. I don't dislike. I don't hate any part of his Transformers, history, except maybe how the Michael Bay movie stories were created, or whoever developed those. Maybe Michael Bay himself, but um, where was I? Basically, what I'm trying to say is visually, it's great. I think it is great. So there's comments about Cybertron not having enough robots, but I think it kind of makes sense. It's as FJ explained, it's down to the last hour, literally last day of the war on Cybertron. And so there's been a lot of casualties. The Autobots are down to maybe two hands full of characters, maybe a little more, but the Decepticons are clearly winning it. They were about to win it, I suppose. I mean, I'm not going to spoil it for you there. You just go watch it, but it's really good. Just watch it already, right? So the other, so that's visually, animations are crisp, very nice, very well done. Let's talk about story. Story's good, pretty good as well. It's not like, I mean, I have a weak memory. You ask me about a movie that I've seen, I probably won't remember a lot of details about it until you remind me. So, but in this one, so my first impression, an hour after I finished watching the whole thing, so maybe my memory is still a little fresh, but I could say that there was not one part of it that was useless, that was unnecessary. I think I just can't remember anything. So everything had a purpose in telling the story. So that was cool. In terms of dialogue, I guess it's just the tone of the series. It's and I think it's fine. It kind of works. You might think it's kind of slow. There's a lot of dots. Pauses. I saw at one point. Was it Ratchet completing Optimus Prime's sentence? There's a lot of pauses, and I think that's fine. So it sets a tone for the characterization of these robots that we know and love. So this new characterization, this new series, new fiction, new story, new telling of the story, of their story, and it's fine by me. um I think I mean, it works for what it is. It's all coherent. It all has a purpose to convey a certain feeling or mood. And so I think it's fine. There's jabs here or there. I mean, jokes, I guess, but overall, it's all right. It's fine. Uh, I mean, it is just 2 hours long in total, and you have so many different characters. So it is what it is. I'm not gonna complain about that too much. Speaking of the character, the mood, the feel of the series, one of the things, and I'm going to talk about the music now, the soundtrack. I think it's very good. It's well done. I mean, you can only expect that from uh, Alex Bornstein. I'm sorry, I don't know how to pronounce his name properly. Borstein. Um, so it's obvious. I mean, if you're expecting cinematic orchestra like in the Bay movies, Steve Jablonsky or Transformers Prime, you're not going to get that. And I think it's somewhat uh, on purpose. This is different from those movies. So I mean, in the same way, I guess Bumblebee wasn't too much of a cinematic orchestra type soundtrack, but I mean, it works. It works for me. I think it gives it its own character. The music, um, the unfortunately the intro is very short. The outro, the credits is a little long, 2 minutes. I guess. I mean, maybe on purpose. Um, but I like the music. I mean, I'm into it. All sorts of music, and this one again gives it its own character, and I like that about it. And yet, it's still kind of true to the brand. There's some portions of it where I felt like it shared a little bit of sound with Cyberverse, but that's fine. I mean, they're both Transformers shows, so what do you expect? But there's some portions I don't remember now if there's any musical soundtrack or any music in the background, but there's scenes where they're shooting each other, Decepticons versus the Autobots. It almost felt like a Star Wars, scene. And so I think some of the Star Wars music, was kind of playing in my head during that time. But I could be wrong. Maybe the Star Wars. I mean, maybe it sounded like that. I mean, that was really in the movie, in the show, but I just didn't notice it. There was also a point where I felt like I was humming either basically a Steve Jablonsky tune, whether from Transformers Prime or one of the Bay movies. Maybe that was there too. So I saw an interview of Alex Alex B. Sorry, I'm not very sure how to pronounce his name, but he did say the music he created for this one is part synth, part orchestra, and I think it works very well. Those are two things that define Transformers now. I mean, so the synth and the guitar and the distortion, maybe the effects, come from, maybe you could say, the '86 movie. The orchestra comes from the Steve Jablonsky music in the Bay movies and Transformers Prime. So they were kind of a mix of that, and it was good. I liked it. And I guess last but not least, so I tried to make this not a spoiler-free review, but I'm not a pro reviewer, So I apologize if I've spoiled anything for you, or if I will spoil anything else. But I should really close soon. In terms of the story, it's and FJ DeSanto, again, executive producer of the show, has kind of alluded to it in one of the pre-launch interviews he made with one of the YouTube channels, or someone from media. But basically, he took different parts of. It's mostly G1, but there is the concept of the Allspark. There is. What else can I tell you that won't spoil anything? So there is the concept of the all spark, and you can see that here. I will show you the episodes. So episode 1, the descriptions of the episodes on Netflix. Episode 1, Megatron urges Optimus Prime to accept the treaty. While Starscream questions Jetfire's leadership, the Autobots try to recruit Bumblebee to their side. That already tells you. I mean, from the trailers, you already know. You've seen that Bumblebee didn't wear an Autobot logo on him. He wasn't an Autobot. Megatron receives a surprise visitor. Shockwave reveals how finding the mythical Allspark can help defeat the Autobots. The Decepticons lay a trap. So episode 1 was fine. Episode 2, when they started to introduce the Allspark, all of a sudden, I guess that was. I mean, hey, we need a MacGuffin. Here it is. Let's use the Allspark. And I mean, it just kind of came out of the blue, but it was. I mean, it's important to the plot of the whole series, but I feel like it would have been better if it was introduced in episode 1 and that they were already looking for it. And that maybe that, Shockwave explaining to Megatron what the Allspark is for could have been just a flashback. But I mean, that's not the style of this show. I think there were almost no flashbacks. I don't remember now if there is a flashback, as in a flashback itself. There's going to be a vision, but not a flashback. Anyways, so I mean, that's probably one of the low points, when they started to suddenly Shockwave comes out and, hey, here's a MacGuffin. So episode 3, let's read this one. Optimus has a plan but needs Ratchet's help. Ultra Magnus is tortured for information while Starscream continues to foster dissent among the Seekers. Okay. So there you can see Starscream. Starscream's voice is G1 Starscream. I mean, it's not the same voice actor, I don't think, but it's very Starscream, and I love that about this one. Soundwave's voice, I should probably talk about voices as well. Soundwave's voice is not G1 Soundwave, but it's fine. Megatron, of course, is different. Optimus Prime, I read people were like, I don't like this already. I haven't seen it, but because it's not Peter Cullen, I don't like it. So, but I mean, it's good enough. So, I mean, Jake, what's his name? I forgot his last name, but I think he did the great job. The characterization of Optimus Prime here is a little different, though, from maybe G1 or maybe even the Bayverse, and he's just different. And so, I mean, you cannot fault the voice actor for Optimus Prime for being what he was asked to do. I think he did a great job to characterize Prime. But that being said, maybe, I mean, this is not the Prime that we know, because the Prime that we know is the Prime that landed on Earth, G1 Optimus Prime, or maybe even Bayverse. So this was a different Prime. Who knows if he'll stay the same, but we'll see. I must say, Ironhide's voice is different from what we're accustomed to, at least in G1 or even Bayverse. It doesn't bother me at all. Wheeljack is very much Wheeljack, and I like that. One of the things, so Prowl is there. I don't particularly remember Prowl's voice from G1, but I'm glad he's there because he was not in the Bayverse. But one of my favorite characters from G1 is Jazz, and he's not here. I mean, he's not in the toy line, because unfortunately he came out in Power of the Primes. So what can you expect? Would have loved to see him anyway. There was just I mean, yeah, I won't try to spoil anything else, but that's it about voices. Let's read episode 4 summary. Alita casts out an Optimus plan, which includes fixing a space bridge. I mean, so okay. So there's the Allspark, there's a space bridge, and you can imagine it's kind of like two MacGuffins. But there is a plan. There's Optimus' plan, and I guess that's what we're trying. That's what they were trying to do. Optimus appeals to the Guardians. I wasn't sure who the Guardians were. There's Can I spoil one thing for you guys? There is a faction, a third faction. Well, not really.